expecting Susan. Just for you, Mike. Now, there were a dozen when I started. Yeah, you are preaching to the choir. Are we ready? It's 9 o'clock. Call this special meeting of the Henry County Council, August 9th, 2024 to order. The main topic of business is Corey going over Ready 2.0 projects specific to Henry County as well as the process. Are there any questions from the council? If not, we'll turn it over to Corey. Thank you for being here, Corey. We greatly appreciate it. Important decisions to be made in the next month or two.
Good morning.
Morning.
Want to start out with the process. And so that is the first handout with the pictures. Your packet is double-sided. So round one of scoring, the scoring committee. And so this is both region and local. But the scoring committee includes the steering committee members. And so the regional steering committee has been engaged in this process really since last summer. And each county, by the way, for the purposes of the viewing public, there are 8 counties in our region. If you want to learn more, you can go to forgeci.org, forgeci.org, and click on Ready. But each county has 2 members on the steering committee. The geography of Henry County is represented by myself and the executive director and president of the Henry County Community Foundation, Jennifer Fox. So that's the steering committee. This process is being managed by the East Central Indiana Regional Partnership. That is the regional entity that will receive the grant funds from the state of Indiana through the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. The region has hired HWC Engineering. They helped us put together the plan. We did really amazing public engagement last summer and fall and putting together our plan, and the state really acknowledged that. Our region was awarded $35 million, the second highest funding amount in the state, but the highest increase from round one to round two. So that's a very quick history of kind of like where we've been. And now I'm going to talk about where we're going. We're now at the point in time where the proposals that were received last fall in the call for projects open public call for projects. About 170 region-wide. They all received an invitation and 2 or 3 reminders at the end of June that there was a set of questions that they needed to answer and file by August 2nd. And so a little later on in my comments, we're going to talk about the projects that were submitted from Henry County to that portal due August 2nd. So the region has devised a scoring process, an evaluation process, and it will include 2 rounds. The first round, each county will gather a group of people that includes the steering committee. So that's Jennifer and myself. And then the region encouraged that we invite elected officials, 3 elected officials to participate in that scoring process in round 1. And the 3 elected officials here in our county are Kenan Gray, Bobby Plummer, and Greg York. We will gather Monday and Tuesday of next week and come to consensus ranking Henry County's Ready 2 projects. That's the assignment. Every county is doing that. That will be sent to the region. The region will proceed into a round 2. So if there are 8 counties, we're gonna look at the top 5. So top 5 move on to round 2. So that's approximately, well, that's not approximately, that's 40 projects. And then those same individuals across the region will score all of those individually. We won't get back together. And then out of that, there'll be a ranking of the regional projects. And then that will be taken back to the steering committee. And right now, tentatively, that discussion will take place on September 6th. Now, I've talked a lot about it, scoring, and then I've also in your packet, I've included a rubric. The scoring rubric is a guide. It is not the end all be all. This is both a qualitative and a quantitative process. This is both an objective process and a subjective process. So the steering committee will take all of that input through the 2 rounds and come up with a final project list that will be then submitted to the Regional Partnership Board for approval. And then that will move on to the state of Indiana with a request. I'm not sure yet in the process where we start assigning dollar amounts. I don't know if that'll happen on September 6th. I don't know if that'll be a case-by-case negotiation. That is unclear to me. But I do know that the region is committed to getting a proposal to IEDC as quickly as possible after September 6th. Any questions? Well, let's look at the rubric. You know, on the back, I've got a timeline. Project application portal closed on August 2nd. August 8th was, what's today, isn't it? No, what is today's date?
9th.
Thank you. Where am I at? Oh, that's a joke.
Courthouse.
So it started today. We got the projects last night. So I took the projects and I created this summary for you. So this project summary is my creation, okay? That's not the application. the application is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages long with a lot of, some projects had a lot of uploads, some projects didn't have any uploads. But what I did is I went into the application portal and I created a summary for your purposes. But I want to, now that I've brought your attention to that, I want to go back to the timeline. August 8th. We have to, each county has to have their projects ranked and turned in. Our homework's due August 16th. We're gonna finish ours on August 13th, by August 13th. I hope we finish it on Monday. But it's due August 16th. Then we're gonna turn around and round two starts on August 21st. And all the scores have to be turned in by August 30th. And then between August 30th and that September 6th Regional Steering Committee, we'll see how everything shakes out. I want to say again, I'm repeating myself, no county is guaranteed any money from Ready. That's a little different than Ready One. The region is committed to funding the best projects, the most impactful projects, as it relates to the goals and strategies laid out both by the region and the state. And you can get a sense of that by looking at the scoring rubric. Section 1 is project partners. You know, does the project have partners identified, both public, philanthropic, and private? Now, not all projects are going to have a private sector partner. That's okay. Not all partners are going to have a philanthropic aspect. That's okay too. Alignment with IEDC key performance indicators. They're listed out there: population growth, per capita income growth, growth in employment opportunities, educational attainment, housing units developed, childcare capacity, innovation activities, private investment. Section 3 is alignment with regional goals. The broad buckets are quality of life, housing and infrastructure, childcare and support for families, education and opportunity. Section 4 is regional economic and community impact. You know, based on the available information, does this project have the potential to have a high economic impact for the region? Based on available information, does this, well, that's a duplicate. Needs, gap analysis, and project readiness. You've heard me say the projects that are ready to go are going to be competitive. And so you see that showing up in this rubric. Has the applicant clearly conveyed the need for Ready 2.0 or LEI? When you see LEI, that is Lilly Endowment Initiative. That is really a separate pot of money running parallel to Ready. Lilly Endowment gave the state $250 million to support 2 project areas across the state. One was blight elimination and redevelopment, and the other bucket was arts and culture. Have other funding sources clearly been considered in addition to Ready? Will the proposed project be completed by the end of 2028? A higher score for more near-term project timelines. So that's the rubric and a review of the key performance indicators and the regional goals.
Got a question, being on the scoring team. Will we have the full information that everybody submitted, including attachments? Or?
You have it in your email inbox now.
Okay, that was what I got last night at 6:28.
Yes.
Okay, I haven't had a chance.
No. There's a link. You got to click on the link.
Good to know.
And that link will take you to it's not Dropbox, but it's like Dropbox.
Okay. All I need to know. I'll have time over the weekend to
Same here.
open it up.
A little on Saturday morning and a little on Sunday morning.
There you go. Thank you.
with cartoons on.
Sandy Griffith for the,
Any questions on the process? Any questions on where we're at, where we're going?
Yes, sir. You said the rubric is not the end all. There is subjective parts to it, correct? Okay. And for example, like project C and D are basically the same project, submitted by two different groups. Okay, cool.
and that'll be discussed in the scoring group probably. Are there others like that they're overlapping that you know of, or have you?
Well, right now, we're only looking at our own counties.
Right. Are there any in Henry County that's overlapping like C and D?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good to know.
I don't think so. So let's look at the projects that were submitted from the geography of Henry County. The reason why I keep saying the geography of Henry County, because I'm in the Henry County Courthouse talking to the Henry County Council. I don't want people to be confused with Henry County and Henry County government, right? These projects could have come from anywhere within the bounds of Henry County. It could be a for-profit applicant, it could be a not-for-profit applicant, it could be a government applicant. And so the way I structured this summary is, there's no order to this. This is the order that it was given to us in the Dropbox. I was going to put 1, 2, 3, and I didn't want to give any impression of a ranking. But I did want to identify it so we could go, oh, well, what about F? That's the only purpose of the A, B, C, D, and I also wanted to prove that I know my alphabet. So in bold is the project title. That is the title that the submitter gave. That is not my title. I literally pulled up the application and whatever they put in the question for title of project, that's what I put. In parentheses is the applicant. The summary is me looking at the application, pulling out some key sentences and putting them in there for you. There's a lot of other information in the applications that's not on this summary. But I had a tight time frame and I wanted to be able to have an efficient conversation with you all in regards to what got submitted.
Thank you for doing that.
No problem, happy to. So the first one, Blue River Park, Town of Knightstown, riverfront enhancements, including a river walk trail, picnic areas, and river access points. This is at 1200 State Road 140. That's south of County Road 1200 North and east of 140 near the Knightstown Public Access Site on the Big Blue River. The estimated total cost is $109,200. They're asking for $79,200. Do you want me to go through every one of these just like that?
My question relates to, at the end of next Tuesday,
Yes.
we come up with 5 projects. This is not like the Food and Beverage Committee that gave out 13 different projects they submitted. It has to come down to 5 by next Tuesday.
Well, we're gonna rank them.
Okay,
We're gonna rank them all.
okay, from 1 to 15.
Yes.
Okay,
But only 5 will move, the top 5 will move forward to round 2.
and you said something earlier that may not be the end all, but likely is, or maybe
Well,
that's my interpretation.
Okay, let me back up. Good question.
Are the other 10 dead?
Once a county identifies their top 5, and that top 5 gets put in with all the other top 5s,
40.
it's going to be very, very difficult to come back and get a project that's ranked
6, 7.
6th, 7th, or 8th.
Sure.
Nearly impossible.
Okay, so we're looking at top 5. and
Yeah.
even
The
being-
reason why we're ranking them is once we get a final project list that's blessed by everybody, some projects don't move forward. Even if they're blessed.
But they're in the top 40, some of them are gonna have to drop
Some
out.
stuff
there.
happens.
There's not enough money.
So if it, and I'm gonna preface this. This is Corey Murphy's opinion and prediction.
It's educated. You've been through it before.
If a county has a project on the final list and that project can't move forward in the middle of 2025, I think there'll be an opportunity to go back to the next highest ranked project
Like happened recently.
and
with
replace it.
Knightstown.
Yes. Well, no, from that county.
Let's
I
make
hope.
sure you use your mics, guys, please. Susan.
But I'm out on the limb here, okay?
But that is educated.
I'm out on the limb. That's what I would advocate for from the steering committee, but I'm only one vote and I'm only one voice.
And that's what happened in one. So there's a precedent for it, but this is different.
Yeah, but in all reality, I'm gonna give you like worst case scenario from a project perspective. If a project is not in the top 5 for that county, it's probably not gonna
Okay.
move forward.
Very likely DOA.
Yes.
Okay.
So I've got a question and then a response to yours. We're talking about top 5 projects, but I also note that there are 13 ready projects and 3 LEI projects. Will they all be scored together top 5, or will the 3 LEI be considered separately from the top 5 for ready?
Good question. Wish I thought of it.
I think the LAI will be considered separately.
Still kind of to be determined by
I
the
think.
region.
I've got let me see if I got a response.
Okay,
He had the
And-
same question.
please go ahead and read for that. And then in response to your question, should we read each of these? I think for the viewing public and
I can
on
read 'em if-
YouTube, I think we
Yeah,
probably
I
should
will.
because they don't have this in front of them.
I don't have an answer yet.
Well, the LEI you said was for blight and arts and culture. That's what Lilly intended those monies for. And that's a separate, is that within the 35 million or is
No.
that, okay, so
No.
really it's 35 million plus the.
Question mark.
Okay. I'm trying to find the third LEI. Oh,
Second
It's
and
B.
the last two.
it's B, and then the last two. Okay, thanks. So do we submit 5 ready?
Yes, no question about that.
And then.
And I'm waiting on
Don't know if we
instructions.
prioritize and limit the LEIs.
I'm
'cause it's a-
waiting on
It's a separate pool
instructions.
of monies.
It is a separate pool of money.
Okay, but but I'm glad you asked that. Very,
I'm not just another pretty face.
or
Have I sufficiently answered or avoided your questions to this point? I'm gonna go through
Yes,
this.
please.
Okay. So I've already done Blue River Park. The next project on our list is Henry Community Health Commons. The applicant is Newcastle Main Street. It is a proposed flexible use plaza gateway in the center of downtown Newcastle, currently known as Citizens Corner. The estimated cost is $550,000. The LEI request is $200,000.
that's across.
It is.
Okay.
Project C, the Henry County 4-H Center. The applicant is the Henry County Expo Center, Inc. Ready One funds would be used for the water sewer infrastructure. Estimated cost is a little over $2 million. The ready request is $500,000. Project D is Henry County Memorial Park Infrastructure Improvement Project. The applicant is Henry County Memorial Park. The feasibility and design layout of new water main within Memorial Park based on the preliminary design report by FPBH dated April 2023. Estimated cost is $2 million. The ready request is $400,000.
Is this the updated FPBH that we? got more
No, it's
recently?
not. And that's why I put it in there.
Okay,
This application is based on a report completed by FPBH to Memorial Park. And that report was dated April 2023.
okay. But there's been an update since then for the other.
I'm thinking they're two different layouts, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
Do you think that applying for the LEI money makes them less competitive for ready funds or?
I don't know. I don't know.
Are we talking-
Sometimes if there, looks like there's another fund.
I'm,
Right on your text to the,
it's not, no.
okay.
Henry County YMCA, the applicant is the Henry County YMCA. It's requesting funds to support the updating and expansion of the current facility. Estimated cost is 2.5 million. The ready request is 500,000. This does include the expansion for the before and after school childcare. And it also includes updates to the existing YMCA.
They did get in the long run funding from Ready One,
They received 190,000 in Ready One.
which is what was originally assigned to them or
Yes.
approved for them.
Yes,
Is this the same project that was brought forth through food and beverage last time?
it is.
Is it the same phase of that project?
It is. The Henry County YMCA was able to hold on to their Ready One funding because they were able to demonstrate sufficient project readiness to provide a comfort level that they were going to complete the project. And I'm referring to a September 30th, 2024 deadline set out by the state for Ready One. So the Henry County YMCA already had those funds within the state portal. After September 30th, we are going to lose the ability to go in and make a project edit. Even though, just like your ARP funds, they have until about the middle of 26 to actually draw down the money. But the state said, no changes after September 30th
Of this year.
this year. And so over the last several months, really beginning in earnest in May of this year, I was working with the Henry County YMCA and the State Road 109 infrastructure project to provide me project updates to demonstrate sufficient, are the projects far enough along to demonstrate that the likelihood of that project coming back in the middle of 25 and going, we can't do it. And then we would have lost that money. That money would have been gone. And so of the 4 projects in Henry County in Ready One, so I'm talking about Ready One now, not Ready Two. Of the 4 projects in Ready One, 2 of them are doing their closeout process right now. They've got the money, they've drawn it down, the projects are nearly complete. And that was the Knightstown Library Accessibility Project. And that was the Wilbur Wright Trail Extension in the Moreland area. Those 2 projects are good. The other 2 projects that were causing some concern from the perspective of, can the projects move forward at a sufficient pace so we don't lose the money? And the YMCA was able to do that. The State Road 109 infrastructure project unfortunately was not.
They're in this round.
They are in this round.
Letter in, is it Nancy?
And so the Ready One Leadership Group, and that's the name that I have given that group, we'll go back farther in time. The Ready One Leadership Group are representatives of the entities that helped pay the entry fee into Ready One. Ready One had a $30,000 per county entry fee. And so those entities were as followed: Henry County government, the City of Newcastle government, Town of Knightstown government, Town of Middletown government, Henry Community Health, and the Henry County Community Foundation. So a representative of those entities made the initial project selection for round one in about the spring or summer of 22. Fast forward 2 years, representatives of those same groups, now not necessarily the same people, although pretty close, got together a couple weeks ago to review the project readiness for the 109 infrastructure project and unanimously decided to request a change with the state and move the $975,000 in Ready One funding to a infrastructure project that will support our industrial park south of town, including direct assistance to the infrastructure that serves Boar's Head. It's public infrastructure, but it's public infrastructure that receives Boar's Head sewer, in addition to providing some additional capacity for the industrial park. So I'm in the midst of submitting documents to our region and to the state to make that change. I'm 98% sure that's going to be approved. And that infrastructure project will start and be completed next year. That all comes into play from the perspective of not only the September 30th deadline, but regions can't access Ready Two funds until 65% of the Ready One award is drawn down. Our $975,000 project was the largest project in our region that had remaining questions. So I'm spending a little bit of time with you and for the viewing public to kind of explain the rationale of grant funding being shifted from the 109 corridor to a different infrastructure project in our county. It's not that we don't like our friends in Knightstown. It's not that we don't like that project along the 109 corridor. It's just we were really, really nervous that we were going to lose the 975 and also hurt our region in the drawdown. So that's kind of that's the backstory and the rationale in terms of how Ready One played out.
I know Kyle set in for me on that.
Yes.
Revote. One project that we didn't have the monies for that was in the top 5 last time was water sewer from Walmart to 103. Is that the same or is that different?
This is different.
It's it's
It's
further south towards Moore's Head.
So
and
this
TS
is-
Tech and Dunbar or whatever that, Dupin, whatever that.
So the infrastructure project that will ask the state to make the change is really at the intersection of County Road 400 South and State Road 3.
Okay.
Just north of that, on the east side of 3, there is an existing lift station, a sewer lift station. And that lift station was put in about 15, 20 years ago by former Mayor Sherman Bowles. I'm really glad that he put it in because back in 2014, when we were working to secure the Boar's Head investment initially, it was very helpful to point at that sewer lift station and say, that's how we're going to get your sewer discharge to our plant. It needs to be upgraded.
Okay.
They have grown more than what we all anticipated from a sewer discharge perspective. This is fun, isn't it? Good morning. We're talking about sewer discharge from the Henry County Courthouse.
My 2 favorite words.
Yes, mine too. Wait till we get to a later project here. We're going to talk about more sewer. So it will upgrade that.
Well, it also assists the 94 acres across to the west
It will extend water,
water part. but-
water only.
But it's important.
It's very important. And more than you wanted to know, north of the lift station, the pipes will be upgraded.
That's part of that 900.
It is. And so ultimately that will help Tubinger. This is a phase 1, phase 2 I shouldn't do this because I'm directionally challenged, but phase one is really a northern project along that corridor. Phase two, unrelated to Ready, unrelated to anything. Phase two would be getting a new lift station on the Dubinger site and then running a pipe on the west side of 3 north to connect in.
For those who don't know, can you do a 30-second synopsis of Dupinger?
So Dubinger is ground located at the southwest corner of County Road 400 South and State Road 3. Last fall, the Henry County Redevelopment Commission purchased that ground. We then engaged HWC engineers to do an analysis of the ground from a, what should this be? What is the highest and best use of this property? And under consideration was residential. It is currently zoned general business and ag. At the conclusion of the analysis, the redevelopment commission said that the highest and best use is really an extension of our industrial park. Light industrial. The same as, the same where TS Tech is, the same where Boar's Head is. And we're now moving forward with a rezone application. And the tentative hearing date for that is September 19th.
What time setting? No, it's more than 30.
I struggle with time limits.
It's, and direction.
Touche. Honey Creek Trail expansion. The applicant is the Middletown Fall Creek Township Park Department, requesting funding for engineering, design, and plans. Those plans would then lead to a construction project that would add a 1.6 mile extension to the existing trail where it ends, connecting to Sulphur Springs. The estimated cost is $650,000. The ready request is $40,000. Back to our conversation about sewer, the Middletown Wastewater Treatment Plant, long-term control plan, collection system improvements. The applicant is the town of Middletown. Ready funding would be utilized to construct a new headworks building to include new screening, grit removal, raw sewage pumping, and a non-potable water system. The project doubles the influent treatment capacity of the plant. That's pretty important, right? That's pretty important. Estimated cost is 16.5 million. The ready request is 1.5 million.
I saw Kyle perked up with the description of that one.
Project H, Miracle League of Henry County Field of Dreams. The applicant is the nonprofit organization Miracle League of Henry County. Let me first of all talk about what is the Miracle League. Miracle League is a group that provides safe, accessible, and an inclusive environment for individuals with disabilities to enjoy baseball. The ready funding would be directed towards critical aspects of site preparation, accessibility features, infrastructure construction, landscaping, and community engagement. The ready request is 1.2 million. The estimated cost is 2.4. Project I is the Newcastle Courthouse Annex Rehabilitation. The applicant is Ironman Properties. It would consist of an interior and exterior rehab into 12 luxury apartments. The estimated cost is 2.4 million. The ready request is 480,000. Project J is the Newcastle Residential Housing Development. The applicant is DC Develop. New residential development on 2 sites within the city of Newcastle with the potential for a childcare home in partnership with the Henry County Community Foundation. It's single-family housing, and it's 113 homes on those 2 sites. Estimated cost is 42.3 million. That includes the cost of the homes. That number includes the cost of the homes. Ready request is 4.5 million. Sam Hall Estates, the applicant is BCT Properties LLC. It is a residential development just north of Newcastle, generally located at the southeast corner of 200 North and Road 3. It proposes 65 homes. The estimated cost is 18.5 million. The ready request is 4 million. Spiceland Hotel Project, the applicant is Spiceland Venture. It's the construction of a name brand hotel at exit 123. The estimated cost is 10 million. The ready request is 6 million.
That's asking more than half the actual projected cost.
Yes. Kind of speaks to following instructions. Wastewater improvements to add capacity at I-70 and State Road 3. The applicant is South Henry Regional Waste District. The project would provide a direct pump force main from the interchange directly to Louisville. I will say that the current route is down State Road 3 through the town of Spiceland, continue on down to Dunreath, and then head east on US 40. So this project would basically take a force main cross-country directly to their plant in Louisville. This would increase the capacity and ability to serve the undeveloped land along the force mains route. This does include some potential residential development. Out along that route, there's property that's already been platted for a subdivision long time ago. The estimated cost is a little over 5 million. The ready request is 1 million.
Seems to me like they did get 100,000 of our money.
I saw that in the application.
Yeah.
Water, wastewater expansion to I-70 along State Road 109. The applicant is Town of Knightstown. Project will extend water and sewer utilities from Knightstown to I-70. The estimated cost is 23.8 million. The ready request is 2 million. Washington Street Corridor Enhancement, the applicant is Town of Knightstown. It is the revitalization, like a streetscape project of the Washington Street Corridor between the Hoosier Gym and the downtown square. The estimated cost is 2.5 million. The LEI request is $887,995. Project P, the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame expansion. The applicant is the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. LEI funding will assist the museum with the installation of cases, digital displays, interactives, and other aspects that will enhance the museum experience. The estimated cost is 5 million. I will tell you that that estimated cost is the entire project. That is the actual expansion of the building plus the interior improvements. The LEI request is 500,000.
So that must fall under the arts and culture part
It
of
does.
LEI.
It does. Total project cost on this sheet, 136,590,806. Total ready request, 22,199,200. Total LEI requests, 1,587,995.
If I'm correct, of the 8 counties, the only 2 that have food and beverage are Delaware and us of the 8 counties in East Central Indiana.
I believe that's correct.
Do you think that might help leverage in the whole pool of 40 that we do have that availability? I know last time Delaware is the most populated, and I know it's not going by population this time, but it kind of did last time.
It did.
On Ready One. Because we had 15 million, right? And we ended up with 1.6, so we're about, whatever, 11% of the East Central Indiana population, and we got 11%. But that's thrown out the window for Ready Two.
Correct.
But if that were the scenario, and if it kind of leaned in that direction, 35 million, we might get 3.7. And there's a lot of these projects that are over that. So I guess the hope is that the food and beverage would maybe leverage us in the region because we have matches available that 6 of the other counties don't even have at their disposal. So
Well, some of these projects would qualify or as possibilities for matching funds from food and beverage. Some of them may not, and some of these projects may already have matching funds from elsewhere. Can you share with us which ones may already have matching funds elsewhere? Do we know that?
That's gonna be difficult because I don't want to not give a specific project. You know, if I'm not aware about a project's financing, but I'm really aware about another project's financing, I don't want to give the appearance of
Being biased.
being biased.
Understood.
I would say that generally speaking, the food and beverage of Henry County has long been, so this is an editorial comment, has long been a strategic advantage of Henry County, right? That fund, your fund, that was created by your predecessors through the leadership of Danny Danielson and others in the 1980s, has done tremendous work in our county, tremendous work. And so now we fast forward to why we're here this morning on a Friday morning, is we have an opportunity to strategically leverage food and beverage again. I would say that every one of these projects could qualify for food and beverage match as long as there is a public infrastructure aspect. Water, sewer, roads, drainage.
But adding to that, looking at the rubric, the emphasis at the state level is, it looks like there's a childcare emphasis, there's a population growth emphasis. And of course, to grow population, you have to have housing, but you have to have infrastructure. So it's tied together, but our legislation, which was hit home 3 years ago on the last food and beverage, our specific Indiana code for Henry County food and beverage falls under the two main emphasis of tourism and economic development. Are there any of these, and I think you probably can't answer this question without coming across as being biased, are there any of these that don't fall under our specific, for food and beverage, specific tourism and economic development, that just no way can you stretch it to reasonably, for the educated person, fall under economic development or tourism? I mean, it would be a tremendous stretch to do so. And if we have to limit 15 down to 5, do we want to go to a unreasonable stretch to make it, at least those projects at food and beverages have to match?
Say your last 5 words.
At least those projects where food and beverage is going to be a principal match. If food and beverage legislation is for tourism and economic development, which I think has been stated it is, that was hit hard in the last round of food and beverage, and to the advisory committee, are there ones that just absolutely no way can you say
Okay.
tourism and
think I-
economic
I
development?
think I understand the assignment.
Okay.
Tell me if I don't. There's not, every one of these projects qualifies under the tourism or economic development banner. However, there's a couple of these projects I would struggle to how to introduce the food and beverage funding into the capital stack. So there's two things at play in my mind from a food and beverage perspective. Does it meet the overarching requirement of connected to tourism and or economic development? I think every one of these do. Then I'm gonna go down into the details a little bit. Ready funding from a statutory perspective is incredibly flexible. Incredibly flexible. Food and beverage funding is a little less flexible. So unless there is a public infrastructure aspect to the project, it's going to be difficult to use food and beverage.
And food and beverage initially, back in the 1980s, had county roads. And then
Public infrastructure.
And it later, somebody on one of the committees said, no, we can't do that to the highway department. But it says roads, infrastructure in the original language, and it's still there.
So I I think we worry about that once we know what projects we have.
Yeah, we're kind of veering into the scoring of these, and that's not our intent today. But it's good to understand what may or may not be available. So the real question that is asked of us today is, are we willing to proceed with making ready or making food and beverage funds available for matching projects that would be selected by the different organization? And I don't want to go into scoring these projects or picking winners and losers. But we need to decide as a council if we are willing to put forth dollars to provide match or partial match or whatever for any of the projects that are selected. That sound right?
Ultimately, the top 5 that are selected.
Right,
Or
but we
Henry County.
can't, but we can't decide that here today. So
No.
we have to go on, is there anyone in here that we think doesn't meet the requirements or something like that? So,
That's kind of why
For-
I asked the
yeah,
question.
for food and beverage.
To further, so when the county has operated or made available the food and beverage funds for projects, the applicants have to be either a nonprofit or a unit of local government. Some of these projects here, there are for-profit applicants. I don't view that as a concern because there's a public infrastructure aspect to those projects. And that's where the food and beverage funds could go, is to the public infrastructure serving that project.
Which ones are either non-profit, which ones are for profit?
Project I, Project J, Project K, and Project L. Every one of those has a significant public infrastructure aspect. And if they move forward to the next round of Jumanji, if you haven't watched Jumanji, it's a pretty good comparison to Ready.
So,
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna ask, are we talking about the same application of match funds for LEI as we are for Ready? Is the criteria the same? I guess.
I'm chuckling because it depends. Right now, as I understand it, arts and culture projects within LEI aren't held to the same standard. But they quickly follow up in the guidance that says those projects that have match are going to be more competitive.
Understood, thank you.
However, the ones that you said are for profit are housing, which is a high priority with Ready 2.0 and of our county. So that shouldn't be an excluding factor because it's infrastructure and a very high need.
I think that's for the group that's gonna be doing scoring to determine what projects are. And there's definitely advantages to public and for-profit partnerships. I don't know that I would say those should be ranked lower or anything, but that's for the group that's going to rank these to decide.
Well, and I'm one of them, so I
Sure, I
asked.
understand,
So,
but I'm just trying to disseminate between what we have to decide and what you need to decide.
right.
But like you said, it's kind of a catch-22 because I mean, Project J, it's housing
Right.
and we're needing housing,
Oh.
but
Without question, it's critical. If we're the 8th most difficult housing market in the country, of
Right.
course, counties,
fifth.
to exclude that would be cutting our nose off the spider face.
Well,
None of these should be excluded, given Ready and or food and beverage intent and legislation or guidelines from where you stand. None of these should be excluded based on either of those two entities, food and beverage, Ready, given the state guidelines for Ready.
Corey? Local match, is there a specific definition? Can it be multiple sources?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it will be multiple
I was
sources.
gonna say, because what happens if we get funding for one of these that far exceeds What is our current food and beverage availability that we could use to match? Do you, anybody
I think
recall right
You
now?
would get 600,000 or 700,000 a year. and
Yes, you do.
have A balance of what, 2.5 million?
We currently have a balance of 2 million. By the time any of these break ground, it'll be 2.5 million by next summer.
So just, yeah, curiosity. And then what, can you speak generally to the different local matching funds that are available outside of food and beverage?
Yeah, that's a great question because food and beverage will not be the only match. And in some cases, it may be the junior matching partner. In other cases, it could be the majority match, but primarily it's tax increment finance. And then some of these projects have contributions from their respective local governments.
I think getting back to what Shannon was getting at, the best we can do today, because none of us know what the top five is gonna be, is yay or nay regarding, do we want to tap into our food and beverage? Not knowing what the top five to be a match, because I think he said earlier, in the past and probably in this round, it's gonna give Henry County an advantage that other counties don't have. Are we willing to use food and beverage to match whatever comes out of this process?
My opinion is, why wouldn't you? Because you're doubling the value of what that fund can actually do. It's like when an employer offers a match on a IRA contribution or 401, yeah, I'm gonna max that out so they can pay the exact match to that, you know what I mean? It's a way to
agree.
double the funding for the county for things that we desperately need. That's my one opinion.
So even if a total project hypothetically has costed 10 million and that infrastructure piece was say 10%, you still think that makes the overall project food and beverage eligible?
Yeah, because the delivery of the funds, the delivery of the food and beverage funds, for example, and I'm not gonna talk about a specific project, but let's talk about a project on this list that is put forth by a private operator. That project will have a significant public infrastructure aspect to it. And so the food and beverage funding could be delivered to the public partner. So say it's in Rushville whatever government that's responsible for that public infrastructure could receive the food and beverage expenditure and invest it in that road, water, sewer, and I have no issues, no concerns.
Because the cost of the project looks at all the pieces that are
Right.
necessary, right? So we would still want to own our infrastructure. So it would be ours that we would fund specifically.
To be very clear, is the food and beverage funding would not go to the private operator.
Correct.
It would go to the public infrastructure
To
that will
allow,
be owned by the public, maintained by the public, but that public infrastructure is absolutely necessary to facilitate that project.
So I agree with Kyle. I think that it's a good use of food and beverage funding.
Sorry.
Did you want an amount today that we're willing to consider?
Well, I think the more definitive that we can be now will just help us later on in the process. Because this is going to be a negotiation. It is going to be a negotiation on projects. It's going to be a negotiation on funding. And I just don't mean food and beverage. I mean the entire capital stack, right? Any one of these projects, there is an opportunity to say to them, after we've gone through the scoring process, round one and round two, to say, can we adjust your scope? Can we is there an opportunity to achieve the same objective but maybe make it a little smaller to make it work. And so the more information we have going into that process will be very, very helpful. So my recommendation would be that you all decide a number up to, and then we'll come back to you when we know what the projects are. And, we'll give you an update. And then I imagine coming back a few more times and saying, here's where we're at on the capital stack, the funding mixes of Project X. It made it. And here's what we need from food and beverage to make it work.
So it's gonna likely be a give and take as the process to get specific into particular projects, specific needs, specific amount.
Absolutely.
It may be coming back and asking, can you do more, or I feel comfortable with 2 million because we already have over that in the bank, but I'm not gonna make a motion as chair.
Does it have to be a specific number or can we say,
I think a minimum.
okay, up to the maximum amount that we're allowed to use from
To
our,
whatever amount we decide, I think.
I think if we have a number.
just because we don't have the exact number right now, like,
We have over 2 million and we don't know what's gonna come from them. We'll know in a week from now what our top 5 are.
But we won't know if those top 5 make it through
Oh,
round 2 until the end of August. Well, really September 6th.
a month from now.
then if that's a safe number, I just don't want to limit us in any arbitrary way. That's all I'm trying to avoid. So let's, make the motion for it to be 2 million.
Suggestions from the council.
Was that a motion, Kyle?
Yeah, I said make the motion for it to be 2 million.
Up to 2 million?
Yeah.
I'll second.
Susan's not here.
You've got Harold and
You
mine.
her designee.
We can take
We
a
could take
quick
a vote.
recess and we can have discussion and vote when she gets back.
Have a motion for temporary recess on the vote.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to take a temporary recess.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Temporary recess until Susan gets back.
Susan's back.
Short-lived.
Very, very temporary.
Got to call us back to order from recess. There was a motion made up to 2 million, which we have in the bank now, for this, and we'll know more later. And Shannon seconded it.
Yeah, Kyle made the motion. I seconded it.
Is there anything else we've discussed using those funds for?
No, it's just to support whatever comes out of the top 5. And then you said the absolute known after the region will be September 6th, which is a month from now. But the motion was up to 2 million, which we
Up
have
to
in the
2
bank
million.
now. And then I guess it's time for any discussion, which, is there any discussion on the motion?
May I add something to that?
Yes.
I just want to be clear that we'll come back to you and say, Project X, and of the 2 million, we request Y to go towards the project. It's not just, here's a check, right?
Right.
And we just draw down. No, there'll be further discussion. But going into this with a set aside match is tremendously helpful.
Mhm.
So thank you. Or maybe I should wait until after the vote.
I will add, because we're still in discussion, you asked me to be one of the spokespersons to the Indiana EDC up at Ball State in January.
Or site visit.
Yes, and I mentioned that we had probably 2 million by the time decisions are made. And Delaware was there. And again, they're the only 2 counties, but it seemed to me like the participants representing the Indiana EDC perked up when they realized we had substantial potential match monies in East Central Indiana, at least Delaware and Henry. I don't know if that contributed to the 35 million in the largest game, but I don't think it hurt that we had monies to match.
Right.
And it's a significant match request in Ready 2.0. So that's the end of my discussion. Any other discussion? The motion is made to allocate up to 2 million in food and beverage for match of potential projects coming forth from the Ready Steering Committee. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6-0.
It passes 6-0. So is this where the thank you comes in?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we
Thank you, Cory.
advertise just this topic, so we really can't, I guess, you have your finger on the mic, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I believe at least some of these projects have at least considered coming for food and beverage dollars themselves. And this gives us an opportunity to leverage those food and beverage dollars to try to get more dollars. And if some of these projects don't pan out with Ready and move forward later, there's still opportunity in future years for them to consider coming for food and beverage money.
Anything else? My only update is meet here on Monday at 4:30 PM for our second budget here. Fifth budget hearing, and next Wednesday for our regular August council meeting, 4:30. So at least the times are the same next week, 4:30 and 4:30, Monday and Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, Kenan. Is there any way that we can make whatever is most important the first thing on the agenda?
You have something to go for. to go
It's my
with.
daughter's birthday
Yes.
and we've got a bunch of family coming in.
Yes, so I don't know what's on that, but
Right,
it'll
right.
be discussion with some budget things, I'm sure.
On Monday, yeah.
And I know we have to do some ordinances from Addie that's in Joel's hand. Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. We'll see you Monday at 4:30. Thank you. God bless you. Get some